Recently, the Nigerian police force has ordered an investigation into the suspected murder of Andrew, the person who is connected to the missing girls Celine and Afiba. That's what we are talking about in this video. If you're meeting me for the first time, my name is George and here we talk trends. I've been taking my time to look at this particular conversation and there are a lot of puzzles everywhere. If you have not watched me before and you're coming across me for the first time, there are three cardinal points of which I make focus when it comes to my conversations on this platform. 3 P's I think are very important to what I see to be a problem in the Nigerian setting. 1 are pastors, 2 politicians, and 3 of course the police. And of course, in this particular case, I think I might be measuring on the police as I'm seeing the story unfold. But hey, let's not be too fast to place judgment or criticize. Let's face the facts of the situation. As you know, on this platform, it's facts over sentiment. First of all, who is Andrew? For us to really understand his person, I guess someone close to him or who says he's a friend to him can give us a bit of a background about his person. Listen.
So I'm Ben Samuel. I run the news Niger 24 News. Okay. It's a blog. Okay. There's a website, and we have staff and all that. And Andrew has been my friend for over 10 years.
Okay.
So I know him. We live in the same community in the UK, and I know quite a bit of him. So I visited when I was in Nigeria, and every time I come to Nigeria, I do go to see him in Port Harcourt. Andrew spent some his early age in the eastern part of Nigeria. He was born in the UK, and then the good thing that you guys need to know today, Andrew was actually adopted, okay? And Andrew was raised in Nigeria. He told me this one because he explained his early growth when we discussed. So that's what I can say. He was in jail. He went to jail in this country.
Okay.
He went to jail for slapping a woman. I was aware of it. Andrew is a successful businessman. He's a gas heater engineer. The facts are there. He maintained almost 85% of council property in Buckinghamshire. He maintains schools. He has staffs that over 15 staff. At one point, Andrew have more than 15 vans for staff. Minimum wages for his staff, 40 grand a year. Most of his staff are British, white British, basically. Andrew is a crafted guy. But he has a problem. Just like everyone, he has a serious mental health problem, challenges. Now, he was involved in an incident that took him to prison. And after that prison incident, his life went like this, boom, like that. So he decided, Andrew does not know anything about Nigerian culture. So like he knows he's from Nigeria. He loves that he's been there before. He was brought up a little bit of his early age before he moved back to the UK and completely grew up here. When I see him, his life was completely a mess after he came back from prison. So that means he lost his businesses.
He lost all his businesses.
He has to, because he's maintaining property for the council. And when you maintain property for the council and you have 2 years in prison, they will be automatically taken away. This is not Nigeria. Okay, so you cannot go and start maintaining property, or your company will be responsible for vulnerable people in their buildings. I knew he had this problem, but he's in the UK. He's well managed here. But this guy suddenly called me one day and said he's moving to Nigeria.
Okay. Now, I took my time to listen to all parts in this conversation. So as I get to talk about it, please, my dear friends, remember we are facing facts here. The best I can do is just give my opinion as to what I see going on, but I think the police would probably do a better job now than they were doing before, depending on the motivating factor. That brings us to the next P, which I always talk about when I look at the 3 Ps. The next is poverty. And indeed, when you look at the country itself and how dysfunctional most of the system functioning in the country is, that becomes a triggering factor to some corrupt practices we might see happen in the country. So who are the key factors or the key people in this conversation? First, of course, is Andre himself. Second are the two people that are missing, Celine and Afiba. One has been said to be found. I don't know which of them yet that they found a decomposing body, but we'll get to that conversation, of course, as we get to go on. And the next, of course, right here is the police. As for Harrison and Mr. Ben, I'll talk about them as well as I go further in this conversation. So, looking at the person of who Andrew himself is, his record, or would I say his digital footprint, doesn't really give a good impression. So, how would he actually be thriving in the country Nigeria, coming all the way from the UK and doing things that you have heard, or would I say seen him do? But for those who are actually new to this conversation, let me give you more like a background. Previously in the UK, according to his friend, he has been arrested and even gone to jail for his more like, I'll put it again, psychopathic attitude, if there's a word like that. And recently, before he came back to Nigeria, as at March 2023, he was actually on a wanted list. So for him to be in Nigeria and still be functioning, would I say, as an Ogaranya, a big man over there, it just tells a lot about the system as to how he could actually thrive being himself and really working in cohort as well with the police. Imagine saying something like this about the police PRO.
The guy did everything possible for him to be locked up. Numerous cases. I dey tell una the story of one of an incident in Port Harcourt wherein they knock the PRO of the case when they're supposed to the jail am for. If they knock him. If they knock the PRO of the case, the PRO regularly visit to get knocked.
Now that is something really serious, I would say. Yeah. So indeed as well, he's just a man with gifted hands. By that I mean like he's someone that is loaded with a lot of cash. And if you have money in Nigeria, to a great extent, probably you can have your way with anything. But looking at the missing girls, now, according to stories I've seen online, even the Ghanaian lady that is said to be part of this situation is actually married. So obviously the travel of the girls to meet him over there in a bar had a very consensual agreement. They were going to go there, have a good time with him, and probably get #1 million based on the chat messages that was released as to the supposed agreement that they had. But people were suspecting that they might be alive, but with the decomposing body that was found recently, I guess that wouldn't be true. Now, he has been connected to be part of a syndicate of human harvesting or body harvesting or whatever, but we'll get to understand that deeply as we get onto this conversation. These are my observations as I looked at this particular case. First of all, he was arrested on the 8th and then kept for 2 weeks over there in Umahia based on facts when he was arrested, and within that particular 2 weeks, the conclusion of the investigation by the police over there in Umahia is that the girls themselves might have been victim of self-kidnap. Now, what would self-kidnap be? Probably a situation whereby some people decide to fake their kidnap for the purpose of trying to get money from whomever they think loves them or whatever. That is also a situation now. Self-kidnap could just be, someone just getting away and then not telling anyone where they're going to. You understand? So if that was the conclusion of their investigation or what was written on paper to be what the police themselves are attesting to be the situation, why is it that only after he died or after he was murdered, according to what the police are suspecting at this point, thanks to Mr. Ben, who actually raised the alarm and the way this particular case is being looked at? Because had it not been for him, I think the conversation might have gotten a different route, probably even ended with what the narrative Harrison was putting out, or would I say what the police had decided to be the situation after the body was quote unquote found. But again, this actually tells a lot about the Nigerian police system and how the system itself is very dysfunctional. I have to be very honest with you on this because observing this from a distance is making a whole lot of sense. I've seen people on the internet bashing on Mr. Ben and bashing on Mr. Harrison on a couple of things, but again, you have to also understand where both parties are coming from, which I'll be discussing, of course, as we get on with this conversation. So, here's what happened. On the 7th of May, the case of the two missing girls, Celine and Afiba, was actually reported to the police station, and then the police had to go to the person of Andrew's home to go and confront him about it. Of course, Andrew himself owns a rifle, which is licensed to him as well by the police. Now, I don't want to talk about the rifle itself because there's a whole story about that according to what Andrew's friend had to say. So you can imagine the system itself we are looking at now. For someone that has a rifle in his home and you are ready to find yourself in there with a rifle pointed at your face, probably you could do anything just to save yourself. And if people have been victims of him before and he owns a rifle and the police is going to actually, accost that kind of person, of course the police themselves who are giving him the license allegedly would also understand how to take precaution. Later, the police were able to gain access into his home, slept over that night, and the next day on the 8th, he was now taken to the nearest police station, and from there, taken to the headquarters over there at Umuahia. Now, he spent 2 weeks. Just imagine that he spent 2 weeks at the police station. What were the police doing? Asking him questions? Torturing him? I guess not. And if you are dealing with someone that is a big man like that, quote and unquote, someone that is financially buoyant, either they do have connections or probably you will not treat them like you would treat the regular Nigerian. So probably he was just having a good time over there. And the conclusion of the matter was that it was a self-kidnap issue. And then comparing his cotton to, a bush nearby to where he's living. How come these investigations were not carried out as at that time that he was with them? This is what I see. For them to have someone like that in their midst, who is also financially buoyant, you can imagine what that entails. Their focus would be on the money and probably not on the primary reason for which they are there. And is that why they would just conclude that the matter itself should be settled on the fact that the girls themselves were a victim of self-kidnap? Again, this is very interesting. Now, because of the girl that was missing from Ghana, the embassy in Ghana were able to contact, of course, Nigeria to look into the case, and then that was when the Abuja headquarters now decided to send men over there to Umuahia to be able to, get him down to Abuja to look into the case. But it seems the case must have been concluded, be it not for the trigger that came as well from the Ghanaian embassy as well, looking into what might have happened to Afiba. Every country should care about their citizens wherever they are. I think if this particular news is true, I think Ghana is actually doing a good job with respect to caring about what is happening with their citizens wherever they are in the world. I don't know about Nigeria, but all the same, this right here is a good one for Ghana. Now, because of this as well here, triggered the reason why he has to be moved to Abuja. So let's assume there was no signal coming from Abuja. Probably this would have just died down as self-kidnap, and then Andrew would have gone free. No one would be talking about this, just like this has happened before with the girl that was thrown down, and then the case just happens to be non-discussed or no one even knew about it. So some of the things that you are beginning to know now about this is because it is trending and now is digging up other things that has happened in the past, like you have heard the friend even talk about that no one ever knew. But again, Mr. Ben has his reasons for his ideologies as to why he didn't speak out earlier. Mr. Harrison would also have some explanation why he acted in a certain ways that you wouldn't expect for those who have an issue with him. But again, on this particular case, now without me being all over the place, a case that was probably being concluded now has to be moved to Abuja, and the police follows him all the way to his home, stays there for a while, even get cooked for by the cook according to the story, and looking at the messages that was sent by Mr. Andrew himself to his friend as to what even happened, because even in the process of that happening, it got to a point that Mr. Andrew even wanted to kill himself in the process, looking at the situation, and there was a bit of a fracas over there. For someone that is that buoyant like that, it could have been quite easy for them to just pick a flight and then take him over there to Abuja. But the question now is, if a team was sent all the way from Abuja to come pick him to Abuja, now he's being asked for in Abuja. They could have used a flight to pick him from Aba all the way to Abuja. But for him to be taken home, to ride in his own car, carry his gun, what is he doing with his gun over there in Abuja? Was that part of the investigation? He given access to his phone and his passport and everything, and even being seated with, of course, there with the police in his car. How then did the man escape or plan to escape in that situation? Think about it. Because if you were with someone that in the process of you being with him, he tried to shoot himself, and then there was a bit of a drama with that, it's possible that the same person might just be like, okay, let me escape. But again, there is someone with him in the car. Yes, of course, there is someone with him in the car as he was driving. So now the question is, you all saw the video of him being found dead. How was the shooting incident? Was it that he was driving on his own and he was stopped on the way? Because actually him moving all the way from Abade to Abuja, not minding the fact that the way that they were taking all the way to Abuja, going through Yo and even going to Benue State, where a police officer had to see his woman, girlfriend or wife or whatever, It was more like the police themselves were on a road trip. At what point was he trying to escape from the policeman that he was then shot and killed? That is something that is quite puzzling. So the police are right for them to now be investigating into his mother. Because had it been for the questions, of course, that have been raised, and with him actually documenting a couple of things with his friend, probably we will not be here at this conversation as well. So it makes a whole lot of sense that this might be exposing the dysfunctional corruption, of course, happening in the police force. Because who else would be the person that will be in charge of the mother if it's being suspected, if not the police themselves? Because it will not be someone else from outside. It will be someone in the police force. So the police force themselves would be the one now investigating themselves as to what really happened to Mr. Andrew. If one of the bodies had been found dismembered and without the head and all that, what else would you expect to be happening to the other body? And the only person that can answer to this is dead. Now, when it comes to Mr. Ben, he is over there in the UK, so you cannot directly connect him to this as an accomplice, no matter how you try to paint it, even though he's aware as a friend, and he gave his reasons as well, which I'll discuss maybe much later. There is someone else that is in Nigeria, over there in Plateau, whom he was talking to like honey in the messages that Mr. Ben was releasing as to the conversation that he was having with someone in Nigeria and telling the person what was going on with him and the police. I think the question right now will be, who are the people that are in close proximity with Mr. Andrew? Because come on, if they have his phone, they could see from his phone who is he communicating with and all that. Probably they would know that he was communicating with this man in the UK. So if the police were doing their investigation well at the point of them looking for the girl, that is, if they were ever looking for the girl in the first place, when they had him red-handed, they could see from his conversations as well if he was involved or if he's involved in what he is being tagged as a human trafficker or organ trafficker or whatever that is being said about him. They could see from his conversations as well those he's talking to and how that would have been possible. So this case remains quite mysterious because the main subject or the main suspect himself is no more. So how would the police get to unravel this? But at least one thing is quite sure. If he was truly being murdered like the police are suspecting, then indeed as well, we are looking at a bigger case here than just two girls being missing. Have there been other people that have been missing before? Why would the police over there conclude that this is more like a case of self-kidnap, only for them to be able to find evidences after he has died and all? It's quite fishy.